Hello and welcome to Auto Start Test. Today we've got the 2018 Sportage GT line facelift. As far as we can see, on the outside of the facelift model there's very few changes, although the changes that are there have made a vast improvement. The light clusters, for instance, look much tidier, more sporty I'd say, and the main difference is this cluster here with the fog lights and indicators. They've separated it up a bit and put this nice chrome finish on the front there. Around the side of the car, they've taken away the big step and just left a more subtle chrome finish at the bottom of the doors. And then around to the rear of the car, they've completely changed this light cluster here, which is much tidier, much nicer. And the cluster at the bottom of the bumper there, instead of having it all compacted into one, they've put the reflector on the bottom and kind of mirrored the front of what they've done to the front of the car. The chrome detail here has been changed to a reflective red detail. I think it just sits quite nicely with the design of the car. When you jump into the Sportage, the changes on the interior are immediately obvious, and they're good. Everything has just been updated, upgraded, and it's all a vast improvement on the previous model. I really like the piping detail in the seats. They give it a classic sports car look, and the theme as well. Kind of a retro 80s red and black thing going on. I think it looks really cool. In my driving position, I have loads of room in this front seat. I've got plenty of room for my legs and my knees, and I've got plenty of headroom as well. So a much taller person would definitely be comfortable in this driver's seat. Okay, so our foreign correspondent Leo's just jumped in the car. Now Leo's about a foot taller than I am. That's about 30 centimetres in metric. So he's got about 15 centimetres above his head there. At the moment he's got the seat in the lowest position to the floor that he can to get the most room. Plenty of leg room there for Leo. Very comfortable driving position. In the passenger seat in the front there's lots of hard plastic here. This is different to the driver's side. For me there's oodles of room, but for a taller person I could imagine that can be quite uncomfortable on the knees. As you're driving along, in the main display in front of the driver between the clocks, there's a rather handy little gear notification. So if you're over revving, a little arrow will come up and ask you to hop to a different gear for fuel economy, which is great around town or on distance driving. If you're in higher revs trying to get up a hill, it can be a little distracting when it's trying to tell you to hop into fifth when you really need to stay into third. One thing we were really impressed with is the active lane assist. We'll show you a clip of that now. So under 30 mile an hour in this car, or up to 30 mile an hour, it'll just give you a tone to say you're leaving lane. But over 40 mile an hour it will actively assist you if you go onto the white lines. And here we are, we're actually on a corner and it's taking the corner for us, which is pretty impressive. So no hands, and we've just done gone around a very long wide corner.
Okay, now it's straight, so...
No, it's straight and it's just holding us in the lane then.
Check like that.
I mean, this is brilliant. This is life-saving stuff, really. If someone's distracted at the wheel, it means they won't cross over.
After, I believe, 10 seconds, they just show the information, just put back your hands on the steering wheel.
So, yeah, there we just had a little bing and a little sign saying to put our hands back on the steering wheel and drive. But it's very good if you are distracted by kids or something in the car. It's very good that it alerts you that to keep your concentration where it needs to be. Okay, so inside the car, let's start with the steering wheel. The steering wheel's nice and sporty. It's got the flat bottom there like it has in the other models. Plenty of buttons and things for the sat nav and the computers. It's got a nice little GT line badge in the middle there. It's a good proportion and you get a really good view of the clocks in front of you. I'm not overwhelmed with these bits here in the steering wheel. I'm not sure where I want to put my hands with those there. Maybe it was built for someone with bigger thumbs. I'm not sure. But overall it's nice. It's got a sporty, it's kind of got the look of like an aftermarket Momo steering wheel that you used to get for your cars years ago. But yeah, I like it. Okay, as I look forward to the clocks, I really like the way they're illuminated. They're just really nice and clear. They've got the style of like an old sports cars clocks, but I really like the way the white illuminates against the background. And they're good for a passing glance as well, so you don't have to take your eyes off the road for too long. You can just have a quick glance down and you know you've got the information you want. The onboard computer is the same as other Kia models, touchscreen. And it has your sat nav and everything else. I really like the way it's integrated into the dash rather than popping out from the dash. It gives you a nice line of view across the dash rather than having a big square in the middle of it. Below the onboard computer, we've got the physical buttons to navigate through the computer. Below that, we have the air conditioning controls, and we can set different climates for passenger and driver. Here we have 3 levels of heated seat for the driver and the passenger. There's also rear heated seats, and they're controlled by a button in the door, which we'll get to later. In the centre of the dash we have this little compartment here. We have 2 12-volt outlets and a USB outlet, and a nice little non-slip rubber mat in there to drop your phone in. The gears are a standard 6-speed H with the reverse on the left-hand side. We have a couple of buttons next to the gear stick. We can turn off and on the parking sensors, and we've got a hill descent mode there. We have the visors with mirrors. You still have to switch them on independently, which is just a little halogen light. Unlike in the middle here where they've got the LEDs and they're a nice crisp white colour. We've got the light controls there, the Sunglass Compartment, which has got a really nice soft material in there. It's not one I've found before, but yeah, it's decent size. Behind the gear stick, we've got cup holders of 2 sizes, which are great, but when you're reaching for a gear when you're driving, they tend to, you know, get in the way of the first one. If you're in the rear cup holder and you need that forwards, it kind of crashes into it. So for me personally, I would need that all the way forward to sit comfortably. I did see a video of the same car in another country, and the cup holders were actually next to the gear stick, and the gear stick was slightly over towards the driver, which made it a more easier space to access. So the centre console armrest is slides forwards, so it's good for people like me to get a nice relaxed seating position. It has this little gap here, but you have to reach further down to grab the actual locking mechanism. There's quite a lot of space in here as well. Our coffee cup goes in but won't close. When I sit in the rear seat behind my driving position, once again I've got loads of room. I've got plenty of room for my knees here, plenty of headspace here. Very comfortable. Here we have Leo sitting behind his driver position. So he's got about 10 centimetres of room above his head. But with the way the roof lining is concaved at the sides, he could very easily just tap his head against the side of the roof if the car was to swerve suddenly. He's got plenty of room for his legs, a little bit of space in front of his knees there, but the only thing he did notice was down at the bottom by his shins, the hard plastic of the seat in front, for him to sit comfortably, does rub on his shins a little bit. Other than that, a relatively comfortable seating position. In the rear of the car, with a baby seat in the middle and two grown-ups, it's quite squished in the middle, to be fair. Although these baby seats nowadays are very wide compared to what a child of maybe 8 or 9 years old would be in the back here. I think myself and Leo could sit quite comfortably with a child here, but not necessarily with a child's seat. So there's plenty of room for this shoulder, but this one's a bit cramped. I think, like I said, 2 adults or 3 children in the back here, but not necessarily a combination of, unless it was 2 children and 1 adult. Behind the driver and passenger seat, we have these 2 net type storage compartments, which I'm sure are pretty much sufficient for what you'd really need to pop in there. We have the aircon control here, which is nice. Below the air conditioning controls, we have a 12-volt port and a USB port. The tunnel is actually quite deep, so there's got to be 12 centimetres depth there, and it's got to be 20 centimetres wide. So the driver and passenger front seat have 6 settings for height and 3 settings for head comfort. The rear passenger seats have 1 adjustable height setting. The middle seat has 1 adjustable height setting, although I'm not sure, you know, you'd have to be quite a tall person to need them, I think. The interior of the doors have quite a hard plastic at the top. This is a soft vinyl which carries onto the armrest there, which is very comfortable when you sat in it. There's a nice piano black segment here with the switches in and the heat settings for the rear heated seats. Down here we have a nice large speaker at the bottom of the door card there, and the bottle holder. The driver's interior door has a slightly spongier plastic on top as to the back, a nice soft vinyl here and here, the piano black, all the controls for the mirrors, etc., door locks, and a much larger compartment for bottles and things. Can fit a coffee cup holder in there quite comfortably. The rear of the back seat can be adjusted for comfort. Also, it can be put into a reclined position for long journeys. It folds relatively flat for boot space, extended boot space, but unfortunately you can't actually activate the seat from the boot itself. The parcel shelf is actually quite clever, because you can very easily just pop it into the front position for when the seats are further forwards, and in a rear position for when the seats are further back, so you could still cover your luggage. The boot floor has a split level, so you can just drop it in there and you get a lower floor for your boot, but it does have this lip, so if the seats were flat you wouldn't be level with the seats. Another clever little design feature they have in this boot is these compartments. You can take this off, the parcel shelf off, and lay it flat underneath the boot floor. So when you're not using it, you don't have to leave it in the garage. Underneath the boot floor, we have the usual spare wheel and jack and wheel kit. On the left-hand side of the boot space, we have a little light. There are some hooking points, 2 at the rear, 2 at the front, on each side, and an extra speaker. The boot has 491 litres of space, so if you do need to take the family on a road trip, there's plenty of space for your luggage and car seats. And with the baby seat in this particular position, you can fit an extra 1 or 2 suitcases in there. Okay, from the driver's seat, I think it's got a really good panoramic view from the driver's seats. The wing mirrors are quite large and they give you a really good view from behind you. And the rear view mirror, although it's quite bulky up there, it doesn't really get in the way of your view. The camera's really good. I don't know if it's picking it up on it, but it's a really clear view of what's going on out there. There's Leo messing around. Under the bonnet, we've got a 1.6 turbo petrol with 174 horsepower, which has really got some get up and go for this car. In the last week, we've put about 1,000 miles on this car. We've found that in town traffic, we're getting about 32 miles per gallon, but on a general run on a daily basis, around 28.5 miles to the gallon. So very economical. So, the Kia Sportage 2018. We like it. It's a nice car. It's sporty, it's got plenty of power, plenty of room for the family, plenty of room if you're a little guy like me or a tall guy like Leo. Bit disappointed that you can't lower the back seats from the rear of the car, but generally, it's a nice car. It's a nice drive, it's very comfortable, very quiet. So, that was our review of the 2018 Kia Sportage. Did you like the video? Comment below. Subscribe on our YouTube channel, Auto Start Test. Follow us on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We're at autostarttest.com. And from us at your Auto Start Test, look after yourselves and your 4 wheels.
Head over to Auto Start Test. Select your language. Use the tabs at the top or click one of the icons at the bottom of the page. Select Auto Review and then choose one of the many cars we have tested so far. All our reviews can be viewed on our website and on YouTube. Under each video you will find a photo gallery for each specific car. You can change your car at any time using the tab above. Then check out our new projects. By clicking on the Auto News, you will get news updates from the world of cars. In the Crew tab, you will meet those who create the Auto Start Test service for you. If you are a dealer, then the next tab is for you. Explore our offer. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Contact tab. At any time, you can visit our profiles on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook by clicking on the icons at the top. Welcome to Auto Start Test official website. Please feel free to subscribe our channel. Auto Start Test. You've reached your destination.